Yeah, it was eerie doing those games with no fans in the stands. It was weird so we did road games off monitors.
Thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to finally get to do this and tell
I appreciate it. No, it's great to finally kind of have the freedom to tell my story. The most important thing to me is people are going to remember that Johnny Gargano was a good professional wrestler, but even better human being.
It's honestly a blessing. Like, being able to just go to different places, travel, and see new sights.
The title of your podcast actually is very appropriate here. I've just always been interested in hearing people's stories.
Welcome to Your Story with Mike Wexler.
And welcome to Your Story with me, Mike Wexler. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I have a very special guest, a mentor, father figure, to be honest with you, and really the man that gave me the start to this journey. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Lucas Cuny. How are you today?
I'm great, Michael.
Why are you laughing at the first half of this?
Because I knew you were going to say the one and only, so that's all. I just know what you're going to say before you say it, I guess. It's my Jedi skill.
I mean, well, you are the Jedi when it comes to the FTVM department, so let's talk about that a little bit. So,
what a fun segue.
What? I like Star Wars. It's cool.
No, it's great. No, this is just an interesting segue.
Even though I haven't watched like the original movie, sadly, but
well, that is sad. I can't take. No one should blame me for that. That's not my fault as your film professor.
Oh, that's true.
This is actually going to be a roast of Michael Wexler. Today's episode, I think, is what I'm going for.
I guess so, but let's talk about the start.
You're on the dais. All right, go ahead.
Okay.
Fire away.
So the question I have for you first is,
it's summer. I'm in a fun mood.
So the question I have for you is that what made you start with the FTVM program here at Valley?
What made me start with the FTVM program? So I was running a film festival in Redlands in 2014, and the teacher of the Redlands High School media program, Kevin Bebo, saw a flyer for it, or a posting I did on, I think, Instagram actually, and hit me up. He's like, "Hey, this is really cool. Who are you?" So we struck up a conversation. I was telling him what I was about. He's like, "Hey, you should join the advisory board for the RTVF program, Media Academy at Valley College." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." And I was in the midst of my master's program, so I wanted to get into academia and start teaching. So I saw it as an opportunity. So that was kind of my first intro to the program. So I served as one of the professional advisors for the department.
That was the wrong one. Dang it! Wow. That was the wrong one. But regardless, no, it's really cool to hear about your beginnings about the FTVM program, formerly known as the RTVF program. And really quick, Lucas, I want to get into what is exactly the SBVC FTVM program for those who don't know.
Well, it's a tongue twister. So FTVM program stands for Film, TV, and Media. That's the newest iteration of it. The program started officially in 1962 as a telecommunications, and then it was comm, and then it was RTVF when I got here. So it's always evolving with the times as far as like trends and technologies in this industry change, and so the department likes to be on top of that or in front of it. So that's what that is.
Rest in peace, the RTVF program. I missed that name, but it's really cool because I remember when I got into Valley in 2017 after I graduated from high school, Lucas Cuny and Kevin Lyons and I think Miguel, I had met in 2017, 2018. So it's really cool to see kind of that journey from like then to like what it is now.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, no, I started here officially in 2018. So you were on your third year at community college. Good job. Way to go.
Yeah, I mean, it took me 3 years to get out of there, but
it's okay.
Okay. But speaking about how special this program is, I want to talk about the opportunities that you give students to pursue stuff like this, like podcasting, like editing, acting, or, sure, anything within production. So like, what inspires you as, the head of the FTVM program to see students thrive with their passion projects?
I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. My philosophy of teaching is basically disguise learning. So we're going to show you the right way to do things, but you have the power as the student to come to this program and do whatever crazy thing or not crazy thing or whatever you want to do. We want to give you the tools and the supports and the processes that you're going to need to be successful in that pursuit of doing that project. So that's really it. It's not about what I want you to do as much as it is you tell us what you want to do. Now we have certain classes that are very specific, but you can still kind of find your own voice in that. So we have a new class, sports broadcasting. So obviously you go to that class and it's all about sports, right? So within that, though, someone like you, if you were in the sports broadcasting class, I'm not going to put you on camera. You want to be in front of it, right? You want to do the interviews and things like that. So our approach is find where you fit within the mode of any production and let you kind of find your through your strengths, find your passion. Mm-hmm. I'm just a big believer that with these types of programs, the only way you're going to learn how to do it is actually do it. So that's kind of our mentality here is we're going to show you the basics and then go do. And I think that's kind of speaks for itself. I mean, you're doing your thing. One of our recent grads is now working at Stagecraft, working on Mandalorian season 4.
Wow.
We've got others that have worked on for MTV shows, such as your director. So people are starting to do, and then even before I got here, the camera operator, his name is Louis, for Huell Hauser, went through this department. We have an Academy Award winner that went through this department. Her name is Cindy Jo Hinkleman. She won the Academy Award for audio design for U571. We have people that own media companies like Manny Sandoval. We have radio personalities that have come through this department like Lacey Kendall. So it's been 60 years of a department that has impacted the media business as a whole. And it's right here in San Bernardino. So
yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely cool. I mean, especially in my experience, I mean, just graduating high school, wanting to get experience, I got a lot of that through the program. And whether it was in front of the camera, behind the camera, my horrible attempt at editing on Adobe Premiere, and I took a whole semester on it, and I still do not know how to edit on Adobe Premiere. It's really cool to kind of be hands-on with all this stuff, and I thought it was really beneficial, especially putting that on resumes and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean that's what they want to. They want to see that you know how to do stuff. So that's what we do. I think that's what the difference is at a community college environment versus going straight to a university. Where at university you're going to spend the first 2 years kind of in textbook and theory world, not really applying. And you get to a community college and you're right out the door, like, all right, we're shooting a show. What? Here you go. And I thought you did a wonderful job as the fake news anchor when we did Loco Valley, which is a sketch comedy show. You were great. You read the stuff amazingly, and you played it straight, which you did a good job.
Thank you. Yeah, I remember Loco Valley and filming for that. It was a cool
process. You
process.
had many great moments in Loco Valley.
Many. Which one do you want to point out particularly?
There is a sketch about the parking lot. I think you wrote it, right? Yeah. So your director, Michael Contreras, wrote the sketch on the parking lot, and you were like a frustrated student trying to find a parking spot, and you just looked annoyed that day for some reason. So there's that, and then there was one where you dressed up like Cinderella or something. I don't know what was going on.
Yeah,
Rapunzel. You were Rapunzel or something like that. Yeah, it was amazing. You did great work.
Thank you.
I think you got another calling, which is sketch performer.
Yeah.
In your midst.
For some weird reason, I can never remember a script word by word. I could always look at it and then kind of say in my own words what it is. That's what always like kind of hits with me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Probably why you won't end up doing it actually. So
no,
you should memorize stuff.
No, well, regardless, speaking about scripts, I do want to talk about the infamous class that I took with you in particular. I think it was my first class with you, aside from the field production class. It was the script writing class every single Monday. I think it was from 4 to 6, if I remember correctly.
No, it was probably from 1 to 4.
1 to 4. Something around those lines.
I wasn't working past 4 o'clock. I gotta hit the links.
Well, no, that's true. But I mean, I think what really helped me with that class was that like it taught me. Of course, I didn't show up all the time. I'm man enough to admit it. I didn't show up all the time to class, but regardless, it helped me kind of structure, what I wanted to do, and that's in sports broadcasting, like knowing how to do a script. And even though I didn't make the full 60 pages, it was still cool to pitch it in front of some cool people. So, thank you for that experience.
You're welcome.
Like, what do you remember from that class?
Those were for the pandemic, so I don't really remember anything. Actually, that was the class that we got the first, because what I wanted to do with screenwriting classes here is actually push you all to do larger scale projects. So like we done the sketch comedy in one of the classes, and so that one was pushing to see if some of you could actually write a feature. And one of your fellow students, Anna E, did. Well, all of you did. She pitched at the end of that semester, so that would have been fall 2019, before the world changed. And she had this really cool like horror thriller script called Diamond Set in Black, and we were gonna start shooting that as a feature spring of 2020. I think we got about 2 weeks into production, and this little thing called COVID-19 struck. Shut everything down. I think we had about 20 minutes worth shot before it got shut down. But I think that's what I remember is we were actually able to, most of you got over the 60-page limit, which is technically a feature film, anything over 59 pages. So that's what I remember is the first time we were able to pull that off, and it went fairly well, I think. And to the point now, we just finished production on a feature film in the department just about a month ago. And again, that came out of one of our screenwriting classes. So Brianna Navarro, who recently graduated, wrote it, and then she was able to direct it.
Oh, wow.
Which is ironic because she starred in the one that got shut down in 2020. So that for me is the fun part about teaching, is seeing people like where they start and where they end up and where they could ultimately go. So
yeah, man, I remember Diamond Set in Black. That was one of probably the best 2 weeks of filming, just being over there, I think I was a boom operator at the time, and I was just having fun with everybody there. Cody, I'm trying to remember the crew. I think Jeremy was there. The twins were there, I believe.
Yeah.
Brianna. There was like a bunch of other cool people that were there, which sadly I cannot remember the names. I think Stephen Prater was actually on that thing.
Stephen was on that set, yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a picture of everybody in the room next door. So
do you ever think that will ever be revived and we could actually like see either a new make of it or maybe a continuation?
It's always a possibility, or we could restructure it and turn it into maybe a series of some sort. So the script is decent enough. We could still do something with it. So,
and one more thing to add on for the script writing class. I remember when we pitched our scripts, I don't remember who said it, but someone said my script sounded like an anime. Even though it wasn't intended to be an anime, it was supposed to be like a drama, like a cop drama.
Oh yeah, right. I wonder who would have said that.
I think it was like a field producer. It was like a bigger guy, glasses.
Oh, that was it was Dan Taylor from the IE Film Permit Office.
Yeah,
that's interesting. Yeah, because what we did for that one, we've done it since, is we brought in some industry people that you all had to pitch to. So he was there. A friend of mine that's a literary manager was there as well. We had a couple of people from the TV station that we partner with, KVCR. They were also here because I wanted to give you all that experience of like talking to industry people, and you're going to question every thought you have and make you nervous, which it worked because you were all significantly nervous, which I appreciated.
Yeah, I mean, I was sweating that day. I was sweating. Really quick before we get into more about Lucas Cuny, there is one moment in particular about Lucas Cuny that is infamous when it comes to the FTVM program, and that is the world famous Tristan Mike Wexler rule that we overhear at the Valley.
I don't know if it's a rule, just don't break cameras. That's basically what we'd like you to do, is not break camera equipment.
So
yours is forgiving because at least it was a football player that ran you over, and it was an older camera anyway. So I was about ready to delete it out of the system, so it was fine. The other one that you speak of, that was a brand new camera that somehow somebody managed to walk into a wall with. I don't know how that happens, but alas, here we are. Anyway, it happened. We have insurance for a reason.
Absolutely. That's a little bit of a note. Fans that are watching at home want to be part of the FTVM program.
Use 2 hands or 2 whatever you have to hold on to your equipment at all times.
Absolutely. Shout out to the game day crew back in the day where we had our unofficial/official halftime and pre-game
Now we
show.
could do it. Now we could do it right because we have the equipment to do it. Whereas that time we basically pieced something together on Facebook, but now we because we have the live streamer and we've got multiple cameras, we could actually do a pre and halftime and post game show.
That would be amazing to do. Shout out to the original crew, Mike Contreras, Sheena Hutchinson, and I think it was Edgar Avalos that was a part of it.
Oh, okay.
I think so. I'm not too sure if I'm missing anybody. But regardless, shout out to that crew.
Y'all could come back and take sports broadcasting and relive that moment again.
Well, considering
you could audit the class for $15.
Oh, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. But regardless, talking more about Lucas Cuny. So I want to talk about not just the FTVM program in Valley College, but I also want to talk about CSUSB because you also do some stuff over there. What inspired you to make that transition from not just Valley College, but also CSUSB?
It's not really it wasn't really a transition. I knew faculty over there, Professor Metz. I met when I worked there in a previous job, and he found out that I was an independent filmmaker, and he taught most of their film classes over there. And he's like, "Hey, I've got some students if you ever need help." And being an independent filmmaker, I'm like, yes. I always need free help. I'll feed them, which I do. I feed everybody on my sets. That's the least I could do. So I got to know him quite well, and then he'd invite me to guest lecture sometimes, and I'm like, well, this is really fun. I'm just talking about movies in front of people. I've been doing that for years anyway. So I asked him one day, I'm like, hey, how do I get your job? Was basically the question. And he said, well, you need to get your master's degree. There's a new MFA program at Fullerton for screenwriting. I would get into that, and that's what I listened to him and applied for that and got started in that program in 2013.
Oh, wow.
And then finished with my master's, and then ended up, I left the job, I was at Cal State, and then went and did some work at Nauyamawa with San Manuel, doing communications for them. And then I went to Cal State LA and did communications and events, media stuff for their career center for 2 years. And then during that time I started teaching.
Wow.
So I would work there full time, take the train back, teach a class. And one of those spots I taught at was Cal State. So now I keep teaching there at least one class a semester. It's fun. It's a easy class to teach. It's their Com 1020 class, looking at movies. So basically we watch a movie a week and talk about it, and that's easy. I mean, and they pay me to do it, so it's great.
Are we talking about movies like Citizen Kane, for example, which you claim to be the greatest film ever?
I don't claim that. That's the AFI Top 100 movies of all time list. So that's American Film Institute came up with a top 100 films of all time. Mm-hmm. So that's their number one. I can see the argument why. Mm-hmm. So that class, we start with silent films. Specifically, I start with Douglas Fairbanks because I don't think he gets enough props. Everyone talks about Chaplin or Buster Keaton, and there's this guy named Douglas Fairbanks who, with Chaplin, Mary Pickford, and D.W. Griffith, started United Artists. But really, Fairbanks was like the first action star. Mm-hmm. And one of his big roles was Zorro. So he played. So first Zorro film was Marcus Zorro. This is me nerding out, but you have to bear with me because you asked for the interview. So this is what you get.
Hey.
So if you look at how Fairbanks is standing in Marcus Zorro, he's got his elbow out like this and just kind of his chest up. If you look at the early drawings and renditions and early comic books of Batman and Superman, it's the exact same stance. So there's a connection to comic book cinema from Fairbanks. So we start
Wow.
with Fairbanks, and that when I teach it, I start with Fairbanks, and then this year we ended on Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the Tarantino film.
Oh wow.
So it's a history of film class, American cinema, basically.
Yeah, no, that definitely that's cool, especially learning about the art of cinema and the early beginnings and all that too. I remember I took a world cinema class over at CSUSB. So world cinema, we watched a lot of films when it comes to like, there was one from Iceland, there was one from I consider one of the worst films I've ever watched was from Iceland.
I went to film school with a friend of mine who was from Iceland. He's a great cinematographer. So it's just different. There's not worst or bad. It's just
This film was really bad.
It's just people's likes, and there's stuff that I don't really enjoy, but I know is really well received. It's just everyone's got different tastes, Michael.
No, that's true.
You can't just say any art is bad. It's just art. It is what it is.
That's true. That's true.
You have to just accept it as is.
Can I say I don't prefer it?
You can say you don't. That would be more
Okay.
Yeah, that would be more preferable.
I
actually.
definitely do not prefer it.
That's
Like
fine. You don't have to prefer it.
like
but
bottom
someone-
1,000.
Someone out there in the world might prefer it.
That's
Michael.
true.
Because
Okay.
you-
Okay.
Think about them for a second, not just yourself.
That is true. Okay. He wasn't lying about the roast of Mike Wexler. Cool. Now going on, speaking aside from films, what inspired you to become a filmmaker?
I didn't know I was going to be a filmmaker. I just knew growing up in the corn stalks of Northeast Indiana, I had nothing else to do during the week but go to the movie theater. So I spent a lot of time watching movies. Before streaming, there was Turner Classic Movies, and I watched that all the time. So I was probably the only one. I was 10 years old watching these old movies on Turner Classic Movies. So I just always had a passion for it. And then as I was starting to go to college myself, and I moved out here and I took a film history class at Crafton. And I was like, this is really cool. Are there more classes on cinema that I can take somewhere? And like, sure enough, I'm like researching, and George Lucas went to film school. So I knew there's somewhere where you could go learn how to make stuff, I guess, and learn more about it. And I actually had a English professor at Crafton had us do a report on, I think it was a critique essay.
Oh, wow.
So she had us do it on movies, and she had her boyfriend come in, and he was in USC grad school for film.
Oh wow.
And somehow he really liked what I was saying about movies, and she pulled me aside. She said, "What's going to be your major?" I was like, "Oh, I was going to do comm studies at Cal State." She's like, "You don't want to do that. You clearly like this stuff. You should really focus on trying to find film school." So I kind of took that to heart and got focused on, all right, this is where I want to go, and I really like it. And that's kind of my advice to anybody is like, when you go to school, especially college, go learn what you love to do, right? Or just go learn something that you're really interested in. Because the 401k plan will come, the job will come, the career will come, but you're going to get most out of your education if you really focus on something you love. So I found a small film school in LA called Columbia College Hollywood in Tarzana, and started learning how to make stuff.
Wow.
So here we are.
The story of Lucas Cuny, everybody.
It's an onion.
No, yeah. No, it's actually cool. Speaking about Tarzan, I just recently visited over there. Actually, that's next. It's either next to or it's close to Chatsworth, because I'm getting used to all the cities in LA.
Yeah, so it's right in the heart of the San Bernardino Valley. So Chatsworth is going to be north. Chatsworth actually has pieces of the Fox Ranch. So
Oh, wow.
All the studios used to own all that land, and that's where they'd shoot off studio sites. So, Chatsworth is really interesting for multiple reasons, but we won't get into that on your podcast. I have a feeling this is rated PG, so we don't want to get too descriptive.
I mean, I guess our producer Mike is just kind of nodding.
He's
his
like,
head and kind of
no,
shaking.
don't go there.
No. Anyway, so no, it's really cool just to hear, especially what kind of hit me was that just hearing that you're passionate, you love something that you do, and then that you want to go for school for it. That's the same thing that happened. Again, I got to plug the program at the FTVM. The reason why I wanted to do that was because I have a passion for sports broadcasting. And then that's how I got through the early showings of the Sock Monkey Mike show back in the day. Shout out to Sock Monkey Mike, rest in peace. And stuff like that. So that's what inspired me to do that. So hearing you say that about going to school for what you love and having this love for filmmaking is something that's really inspiring.
Well, thanks. Sorry. It's a thirsty day. Yeah, I mean, I heard this once, so I can't take credit for what I'm going to say here on the key to college success, said by somebody else, Dr. Will Keim, who passed away a few years ago, but I heard him say this once, and I think it's true. Here's the key to college, ladies and gentlemen. Find something you love to do. Learn to do it really well so someone pays you enough to do it. So that's really it. That's all there is to it. And I think too often people push you into directions that they think will be okay and safe. And that's fine. But, take advantage of the opportunity to learn something, because it all applies to something. So, you could come out of this program, for instance, and years later end up being a K through 12 teacher. You don't know. Or you could end up running a small business. But you learned a set of skills going to school, irregardless of what the major is. So most people don't know this. You can get into med school with an art degree.
Oh, wow.
Right? So so you might as well enjoy going to college as much as you can.
Absolutely. And it's really cool that I had a phenomenal time over here at Valley. I had a phenomenal time over at CSUSB.
And we can't get rid of you. You keep coming back.
Oh, my gosh. Anyway.
All the time.
Speaking about podcasting, you have a podcast called In the Can.
I do. I haven't done it in a while. We're thinking about retooling it as well. What you mentioned, Professor Lyons, who teaches with me over here, we're thinking about doing something together where we just kind of talk pop culture in it.
Okay.
So I did it. It was one of those I'm going to be super productive during the pandemic moments. And it was nice because I learned how to use all the equipment. Because this wasn't my initial training, wasn't on audio stuff. So it was like, well, I'm locked in, so let me grab this Rodecaster and a mic and go start a podcast. So kind of came out of that, and I did a few episodes. I enjoyed doing it, and then, unfortunately what happens sometimes is department chair of a program, you just get caught up in other stuff that pulls you away from certain stuff like that. It was fun, and like I said, we're probably going to do something new coming up, and I'll let you know about it. And maybe one of these times when you're on Instagram Live, like what seems to be every hour of every day, I can go on Instagram and there he is. He's on talking to one person, maybe two at a time, maybe five if you're lucky. Every time I can go on there, and my wife's like, "Is Wexler on there again?" I'm like, "Of course."
Well, I always say on my Instagram lives, I appreciate all 1 of you, 10 of you, or even 5 of you.
There you go.
No, it's really cool. One thing I'm really curious you just said too that really intrigued me was that adjusting, especially with the change of the pandemic. The question I have for you as not just faculty, but also the head of the department is, what was it like transitioning from, of course, pre-pandemic, everything was in person, everything was, you know what I mean? Like kind of like how it is right now, to just everything online and not really a lot of projects happening, especially within a group setting and stuff like that.
It was a shock to the system, to say the least. I think we had the advantage of seeing it coming because it was starting to roll out at different cities, and it just seemed like we were the last one to close out. So you kind of knew something was coming. It was an adjustment. I think fortunately for our program is we have a very supportive district and supportive administration here who knew what we were wanting to do with the department. And so we were able to continue doing production classes even in the heart of the pandemic. We were doing equipment checkout so people could check stuff out and still get on equipment. We figured out a way to teach. It's funny, my predecessor, Dr. Dusick, hit me up at some point, sent me a text during that. She's like, "I don't even know how you're doing this." And I was like, "Well, I found an app on on the iPads that show you how to do video switching, like you're in a studio environment. So, we just adjusted and we kept going, and we were fortunate to come back face to face that fall on a limited basis, and again that spring, and then we managed to get through it, and the program actually grew through the pandemic. So not everyone can say that.
Absolutely. I mean, to think that like phenomenal things that students did after the pandemic, like I want to give a huge shout out to Phase 3 because like they're killing it with everything that they're doing. Especially having to film at the airport. That was something interesting.
Right. Well, and that happened because the program has got this awesome funding through the district, and we're able to get production insurance, which allows you to pull a permit so you can shoot anywhere. So there's the one thing we do with this program is teach you how to do stuff on a professional level, pulling permits and things like that, because that's going to come in handy. Someday someone's going to ask you. You're going to need to know how to do it.
Absolutely. Well, Lucas, I want to say thank you so much for being on the Your Story podcast. But of course, I got to ask you that final question.
It's a pleasure.
I got to ask you that final question I always ask every single guest. After everything that you've done thus far in your career and everything that you're going to do in the future, is Lucas Cuny proud of the story that he has created for himself thus far?
Yes, I am.
Why is it funny?
Oh, Wexler. Yeah, I mean, of course. Why not? I mean, there's always more to do. I always think of that Matthew McConaughey Oscar acceptance speech. It's like, who's your hero? It's me 10 years from now. So I kind of understand that. It's always, I just saw the Schwarzenegger Netflix documentary series, and he's talking about just always moving, always not being satisfied. I won Mr. Universe once, and then he kept doing it, and now what? Now I'm going to be an actor, so that's my really bad Arnold imitation. But I think that's crucial, is just to keep goals in sight and keep, what's next, So it's even with this program, I'm always tinkering and trying to find new ways to engage it. So that's what's fun.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Lucas. You can look into that camera right there, plug any single thing that they can find you on social media, or anything you want to plug on that's not even yours.
Follow me at Prof C on Instagram, or follow the department SBVC_FTVM on Instagram to see what we're doing. New classes, sports broadcasting, broadcast news this fall, as well as everything else. Take our short film class and shoot on film. There you go.
Wow, that was the best and quickest plug ever. Well, thank you so much, Lucas Cuny. Make sure you guys go follow in the description. I'm looking at that camera. Cool. Make sure you guys go subscribe to the podcast. It is at Mike Wexler on YouTube. It is Your Story with Mike Wexler on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you can find podcasts. And plus, with the program over here, you can learn how to podcast. That's really
right.
cool.
Yeah.
In this beautiful little podcast room over here at Valley College.
Right, exactly. Sign up for 110.
Ooh, that's an exclusive right there. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you guys in the next episode of Your Story.